Good evening to everybody. We'd like to thank Miriam Bracha-Heimler for sponsoring this Dvar Torah. It's the Ilui Nishmat, her first husband, Professor Dr. Eugene Heimler, Zichrono Bracha, Mordechai ben Aaron. This is his 33rd Yortzat, and he was a survivor of Auschwitz who brought light into darkness. He was a psychiatrist, and he developed a whole system of bringing light to people whose lives were so decimated because of the Shoah. So it's actually it's so apt that his Yortzeit now is on Channukah, where the whole motif of Channukah, amongst other things, is the bringing of light to darkness in the world. I'd like to start off with asking two questions, one from the Rambam and one from the Midrash, and then to maybe connect the two together. The Rambam, in his Laws of Channukah, says that there's a mitzvah on Channukah to, via the mechanism of the candles and also of the lighting of the candles and also in the davening, is to laharot et hanes or legalot et hanes, which means laharot et hanes means to show, to expose, and to show the miracle, to publicize the miracle. And then the Rambam also speaks about legalot et hanes. Legalot et hanes means to reveal. Galui means is to expose. There's something that is hidden. And then the galot means to uncover. So what was the Rambam trying to say when he said that there's two components to the publicizing the nace of Channukah? The one is publicity, and to show the nace as much as possible. Then the Rambam also speaks about that's not where it stops. There's a mitzvah to uncover something of the miracle, to expose something that was hidden. What does the Rambam mean on that? Okay, that's the one question. The second question is that there's a midrash. The midrash says, and this midrash is quoted in one of the famous letters of the Rambam when he in Igeret Teiman, when the Jews of Yemen were facing an onslaught by the Muslims, forcing them to convert, etc. And the Rambam then wanted to encourage them, to comfort them. And he spoke about how throughout the Jewish history, Jewish people were persecuted. And in that letter that he sent to the Igeret Teiman, to the Jews then, he quoted this midrash, the midrash about that in the time of the Greeks, the Greek authorities, the powers of the Greek government, the kings of Greek, they made an edict, and the edict went like this, according to midrash. They said to the Jewish people, write on the horns of the ox that you don't have any portion in the God of Israel. So in the Hebrew it reads, Kitvu lachem al keren nashor, write on the horns of the ox, en lachem chelek be'elokei Yisrael, that you, the Jewish people, don't have any portion in the God of Israel. And that's such an obscure midrash, and the Rambam is not quoting that, not in an academic forum, that he's writing this midrash to the people who are persecuted in Yemen. So first of all, the technical, the one difficulty is, which is not such a, what do you mean write on the horn of an ox? I mean, a person writes on paper, you write on papyrus, you write on some clay. What do you mean that you write on since when does anyone write on the horn of an ox? What is the meaning of that midrash? And secondly, what does it mean when they say that you have to write that you don't have any portion in the God of Israel? I mean, so what do you mean? It implies that there is a God of Israel and you haven't got any portion of it. I mean, why doesn't it just say, let's say the communists? The communists, when they persecuted Jews, they just said, you all have to be atheists. There isn't a God. Here, they're saying to the Jewish people, there is a God, and you haven't got a portion in that God. So what does that mean? Why don't they, as I say, why don't they just say straight that, I mean, attacking the Jews, I mean, they're attacking the Jews from a cultural point of view. So why don't they just say, we're making an edict that you have to be you can't pursue your religion, you have to be atheistic, just like the communists did it. I mean, why did in that way? So the answer to, or what the explanation to these two problems is basically like this, and this is something that we are, like mamash, the Jewish people are now experiencing to its full extent. Mamash, it's unbelievable. Let's start off with the second question. What did they mean when they said, right on the horn of an ox, that you don't have a God or any portion in the God of Israel? The Maran explains that what the Greeks were saying was that the ox is referring to the Chet HaEgel. So the edict was, right on the horn of the ox. In other words, like make some sort of decoration in your home, like take a horn, and right on it, we don't have any portion in the God of Israel. In other words, that remember, you Jews, no sooner did you come out of Egypt, you worshipped a golden calf. And when you worshipped a golden calf, there was a God, but you showed through your actions that you don't have a chelek in that God of Israel who took you out of Egypt. But instead, what you did was you compromised your faith, and what you did was you worshipped a golden calf. So that was what the Greeks wanted to do, that put on some sort of ornament or write on some sort of of ox. That's a reminder. You people, just remember, you the people that came out of Egypt, and it took only 49 days later plus, and already you worshipped a golden calf. So let's go one step further. What are they trying to say? They're trying to say, like what we've got to do, what we at Mamasha experience today, and that is the blurring of distinction. In other words, what they're saying is, you Jewish people, you claim that you're superior, you claim that you've got a Torah, you claim that you are God's beloved nation, that you Am HaNivchar, you claim that you stand above everybody else in your morality, in your commitment to religion, in your commitment to a spiritual type of life. And that's not so. Historically, just look what you got up to. There's no difference between you and all the other people. Other people bow down to idols. You also bow down to idols. And you bow down to idols after you had witnessed so much miracles, Hashem's direct hand, Hashem's direct revelation at Har Sinai, and it took only a couple of days, weeks later, and you were worshipping 40 days later, you're worshipping a golden calf. So don't speak to us. That's what they are saying, the Greeks. Don't speak to us about you, the Jews, morality. You've got a Torah, which is so special. What everybody else did in human history, you also did. There's no difference between you. And that is what the Jewish people feel today in its full force. And that's what every single TV station, every single ma'amar in the media is, that you Jewish people are no different to the Hamas. What they did, you did. But they did this atrocity. You bombed Gaza. This is exactly. And it comes from all the echelons. It can be like in the times of the Hashmonaim. The Greeks were people who were then the cultural superpower. Everyone wanted to be like a Greek. and all the Greek, or everything that we know about philosophy and painting and poetry, etc., all comes from like the Greeks. And part of the cultural war against the one people who now sort of were competition to them was Am Yisrael. So from the echelons of MIT, the echelons of Harvard, that's exactly what they're saying. They are saying those people with their chutzpah and their monstrosity, there's no other word for them. They are exactly those evil people who wear ties and are sophisticated academically, exactly like in the time of the Greeks, the people who are so sophisticated from a point of view of philosophy and being learned, etc., and scorn the Jewish people. That's exactly what they say. They're saying you people are no different. And that is the whole inyan. That is exactly this machloket. This was one of the darkness that the Greeks brought about to the world by attacking the Jewish people in this way, by saying that, you know what everyone else does, you people also do. You're no different. This is something that I've always found, not fun, I always like, I find it, I always like to quote from it, that in that famous Toynbee Herzog debate, which was in 1961, can you imagine like how long ago it was? And even then, a person like Professor Toynbee was such an anti-Semite that at McGill University, that's exactly what he said. He said what the Jews did to the Arabs is exactly what the Nazis did to the Jews, nothing less. And because of one like massacre, which now historically already people say that it wasn't exactly like the historians say, because of one thing, that of Dir Yassin. All the other massacres of the Arabs and others on the Jewish people, that's like that's nothing. The only people who he says are like Nazis are the Jews. Rabbi Herzog, Dr. Herzog asked him, if atrocity, according to your Shita, if atrocity is something which is like Nazi-like, why don't you say that the Arabs are Nazis? Exactly like you say we are. That's something that he couldn't answer. And that is something that comes from all the echelons of the so-called like greats of Western thought. That's exactly how bankrupt and corrupt they are. And we asked the question, the second question. So let's summarize this point. The whole point of the whole point of fighting between the Greeks and between the Jewish people, the Greeks fancied themselves as people of intellect, people of culture, and the competitor was the Jewish people. And therefore, what they did was they wanted to blur as much as possible the superiority, the moral superiority, the high ground of Am Yisrael. And that's why we come to that second, the first question. We asked, why did the Rambam say that there's a mitzvah, number one, to publicize the miracle and also to reveal the miracle? That is the essence of Channukah. The essence of Channukah is to reveal. It's something which is hidden. It's something which is deep. It's something which is not on the outside. It's not always so like visible. But yeah, that's what so much of the liberal Jews, so many Israelis who like identified with academia, with a progressive type of like talk, conversation. So many like leftists who like thought, you know what, we part of that type of world. They, after the war of Simchat Torah, they got up to such a rude awakening that all the people who were the feminists who always supposed to speak out against the rape, etc., when it came to Jews, they were silent. Suddenly something was revealed. Something which was hidden now become exposed. And people saw then, Behemet, what is the difference between people who call themselves like cultural, people who call themselves like human rights, people of the United Nations? These very same people, it became exposed how rotten they were and how the Jewish people are so much like it's not such a big, like a mile then to be over them, but the difference between the Tamei and between the Tahor. So that is in this time like of darkness. The darkness is dafka by people who are supposed to be, as we say, people on a standard, people who fancy themselves as representing everything which is noble and such intellectual acumen. But when it comes from a moral point of view, it shows how degrading they are. What a low level they are. That's the miracle of Channukah, that the Jewish people, not sucked into this, but the Jewish people in all this darkness, we bring a light to Am Yisrael and light to the world. So Channukah Sameach L'Kulam.